This is not Rwanda's problem. And we are going to ensure that everybody realizes that it is not Rwanda's problem. And starting with saying, those who think it is Rwanda's problem and not Congo's, first of all, remove these Congolese from here.
Hello everybody, welcome once again to AfriPost. I believe wherever you're watching us from, you're doing great. If you're watching us for the first time, please don't forget to hit that subscription button because we have very many informative content that we are creating for you just to ensure that you get to understand the history, the current happenings, and the state of the black person in this world. Now today we are in Africa and we are focusing in DRC Congo. You know, this is one of the largest countries in Africa. And one thing with it is that it has some of the most untapped natural resources. It is a country that many Western countries have an admiration for because they want a share of the minerals from that country. If you're familiar with African politics, you know that most countries always experience challenges of conflict, especially those countries that are rich in mineral resources. For instance, if you look at Libya, Libya is a country that is full of oil, and this oil reserve that it has been taken over by Western powers. France has been there, United States has been there. They are continuously creating a status of chaos so that people and residents of the country get confused and they don't understand the value of the resources they have. So these countries continue to face challenges. Look at the Sahel region, rich in uranium, rich in gold, rich in bauxite, rich in different types of minerals. So if you look at the kind of conflicts that this country continue to experience, you will be surprised and you will wonder what is really happening in these countries. Now, I want us to look at Congo because Congo is very interesting. We know that it is having its elections that has been going on and the country has been facing a lot of challenges. The current president, Tshisekedi Felix, is facing an opposition from different angles because some people are claiming that his leadership has not been that great. But then there is this rift and this campaign issue that has been there. I want you to listen to this clip of Tshisekedi talking about waging a war with Rwanda. Take a listen.
na banyanga na kata wana oyo baza komikosa na liboma nako sangisa parlement oyo abiso awa na sengi bango bapesa ngai autorisation na déclarer guerre na Rwanda.
Now this remains one of the campaign promises that Tshisekedi gave to Congolese because he was saying that he will marshal support from the parliament and ensure that they wage a war against Rwanda. What is the genesis of this war? You know that Africa initially was just a big piece of land that people lived, different tribes lived. But then there was this Berlin conference that divided Africa in different countries. Right now, Rwanda and Congo share some ethnic groups. And you know that there was a war in 1990s in Rwanda that led to genocide that is remembered to date. Now, this war was fought between two tribes, the Tutsis, which were the majority, and the Hutus. You know, Rwanda has three tribes. We have the Hutus, Tutsis, and the Twas. But Tutsis and Hutus faced serious conflict in the 1990s, and this led to the genocide that is remembered. So some of these communities live in eastern DRC and especially in the North Kivu province. So there we have two groups that are continuously in conflict, and this area is also rich in natural resources and minerals. So we have the M23, the March 23 group that is mostly composed of the Tutsis, who also are a rebel Congolese group. They are also against the government. And then we have the FDLR group. That is the group that is fighting against Tutsis' dominance in politics in Rwanda. So FDLR are mostly made up of the Hutus. Right now, because of that conflict that they had in Rwanda, this conflict has been exported in Congo and they are continuing to fight. So Tshisekedi is kind of saying that there is this M23 group that is fighting my government and is really causing conflict in eastern DRC. And this group must be tamed. But then, because M23 is majority Tutsis, they have support from the Rwandese government. That is what Tshisekedi is saying. But then if you go to Rwanda, Paul Kagame is saying that he has nothing to do with the fight that is going on in DRC. And one thing that he says is that I am not responsible for giving you these people. And these people cannot be part of what brings challenges between our country and your country. Rwanda and DRC have been engaged in a series of war of words, especially from the presidents. There is this time that Rwanda President Paul Kagame said that the conflict in Congo will not be fought in Rwanda's soil. He acknowledges that the tribes that are there are also part of the tribes that are in Rwanda. And therefore, one thing that he says is that he is not responsible for drawing the maps of Africa and putting those tribes in those areas. But remember that those who moved away from Rwanda and went to Congo were people running away from the ethnic cleansing that was going on in Rwanda. So when they are there, Tshisekedi is saying that Paul Kagame has been in support of the M23 group that is also against the Congolese government, legitimate government. So he is not ready to accept any intervention and accept any peace talk with the Rwandese government. You remember that even the other day, the East African Peace Mission, composed of military personnel from East African community countries that were sent to Congo to create that peace, have faced a lot of challenges. I can tell you that Tshisekedi refused to renew their peace mission and said that I am tired of these people here. They have to go back to their countries. This is because there is a rebel group that made certain statements in Nairobi opposing the current legitimate government of Tshisekedi. But then there is an election going on, and this election has been marred by different challenges. Now here is Paul Kagame warning Tshisekedi against propagating war. And he tells them that if it is about war, Rwanda knows something more and has an experience of war. And they know that if war is declared, there will never be anybody who will benefit from that war. Take a listen to what Paul Kagame was saying here.
And that's why there is a difficulty when people are saying, oh, you talk to, no, I can't talk to M23, these are terrorists, But, and some people we thought, should we be clear about this? Go along? And then we are the ones, that is Rwanda, who must carry that burden and be held responsible for the turmoil that is going on in that part of the country. This is the basis on which I absolutely reject and have objection to these constant statements being made, to the point that we are abused. But we're also responsible for hate speech, meaning we're also responsible for ethnic cleansing. We? Absolutely not. Now, the group of experts write so many things in their report. Some blamed on Rwanda, others blamed on DRC. But somehow, in the end, the story emerges, no. What people are interested in are those things being said about Rwanda. What is being said about DRC is, we told the DRC to tell those people who are involved in hate speech, but it is not just hate speech. They are even killing people. Up to this day, we are receiving refugees. Yesterday, there were refugees crossing the border coming into Rwanda. as a result of that, just yesterday. I'm sure there will be more today. And for that, people say, we have told them, to tone down their language. And then DRC jumps up and says, you must do this to Rwanda, you must do this to Rwanda. They tell the European Union, they're telling the US, they have to do this to Rwanda. Do what to Rwanda? For what? For having done what? What have we done? For what we have done, you must first even understand why we would be doing it. Why would we be doing what you are accusing us of doing? Why don't people then address that is causing us to do what we are accused of doing? At the same time, we warned people, and I want to warn people today, when shells were crossing our border and landing on our territory. There is a lot we said about it. When FDLR crossed our border and killed people in Kinigi, literally shutting down that area rich in tourism, and that was the purpose. And of course, the immediate response of those outsiders is to say, don't go to Rwanda, don't go to that area. And then when I do something about it, it's like, no, you're doing a terrible thing. Oh, you want me to keep quiet? Those people close that area, will lose everything and lose people's lives. And then say, if you do this, we shall blame you. Well, I will give you what to blame me for, in a real sense. We are really prepared to be blamed, but we will be blamed for doing what we must do. What people are they talk about interests and so on in Congo. I am not opposed to anybody's interests anywhere. How can I be opposed to your interest in Congo if you have interest there? It's none of my business. What do you want to go? But you're also not going to be able to have your interests fulfilled if there is no peace. I don't understand the calculation. You allow turmoil to go on. There are simple things that could be done to address the problem. You don't mind that turmoil goes on, but you expect to have your interests safeguarded. I don't understand. The interest we have as Rwanda is completely different from what people call interest. First, our interest is even survival. This little Rwanda must survive. We have that history that tells us better than anything that, yes, for anything else, we have to be there. We have to be alive. So we have explained, we have talked so much to so many, to anyone, to the powers that be. We are explaining to them simple things. They're really simple things. And then they say, we won't talk. That is the DRC saying, we can't speak to M23. They are terrorists. Your own citizens are terrorists, fine. Go sort it out in your place. But are the 80,000 refugees who are here and more coming every day since this situation started, these ordinary men, women, children, are they terrorists? You're telling me they're terrorists? You must be kidding. And if this was said by some ignorant, some person who well, of course, presumably telling an ignorant, some useless people, useless to themselves, meaning if Rwandans were like that and somebody decides to tell us all this, well, maybe that's fair to the situation. These are just useless, ignorant people talking to each other. But I have to tell you, we are not. So I keep saying this so that maybe someday some people pick some sense from the real facts on the ground. By the way, they said they won't talk to them, they want to do this. And some people support that they shouldn't talk to them. And then they add, no, but if we are to talk to them, we shall talk to them secretly so that nobody knows that we are talking to them. I mean...
Now the question here is, why should these two countries, which are neighbors, fight? You know, they share a border. The eastern part of Congo is having a small part of its border shared with Rwanda. And if you look at the size of Congo and the size of Rwanda, you will be wondering why these two countries have to go to fight. Rwanda is a very, very tiny country. But then, because of the existence of these M23 rebels, the government of Tshisekedi, or the Congo's government, feels like the Rwandese government is meddling in its affairs, and therefore it must come and stop its activities. Tshisekedi has always said, even in an interview with the Financial Times, he said that war cannot be ruled out, because if this aggression continues from Rwanda, they will be ready to go and fight Rwandese government. I don't know who is ready in Africa for war at this day and time, because Africa is facing a lot of challenges and its leaders must come together to fight and find ways of solving the different challenges that the continent is facing. We are just talking about the Intercontinental Free Trade Area and that agreement. Why can't these governments find a solution that can make sure that these tribes that are fighting coexist in peace? Because I can tell you, all these fights that are continuing, they are just fights that are meant to support Western powers. All these wars are supported not by African countries, but by Western powers who are always interested in ensuring that Africa is contained and Africa is put in a way that it cannot have peace with itself. Look at it. When they drew these borders, what was the intention? Because Africa per se was not about countries. It only existed as tribes. Tribes existed with kings and their leadership structures. But then we were given this Western idea of democracy, of elections, of things that happen here, of countries, of sovereignty, that we were to be divided in different parts, not even taking into account that our tribes were dynamic. If you look at countries right now, all neighboring countries have a percentage of similar tribes that live in each country. For instance, if you go to East Africa, you will find that the tribes in Uganda also are in Kenya and are also there in Tanzania. Look at this. If these countries share tribes, what was the difficulty of these countries coming together and be one? Because these people are one. Different tribes, same people, same cultures. So I believe that one thing that is creating this war and has forced people like Tshisekedi and Paul Kagame to engage in this war of words is because of the question of boundaries. Boundaries have been created and every country has become so selfish that they do not want people from different or neighboring countries to access their resources. So that is it from me. I don't know what you think about this conflict that is waging between Rwanda and Congo, because as elections go, I don't know who is going to be declared the winner, but the kind of violence, the kind of irregularities that are already evident, observer missions from East Africa were denied opportunity to be observers in that country. Tshisekedi, it's like he wants to sever ties with East African community. I don't know what his intentions are, but let's wait and see how things pan out. But one thing that we must call as Africans, Rwanda and Congo must not at any cost engage in war, because if they engage in war, it is only us Africans who will suffer the most. Thank you, and let's meet in our next video. Bye-bye.